Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you my January 2018 Tag It Tuesday Facebook group challenge. My friend Sherry Whitfield has this group and she has a monthly challenge. She's also added an ATC each month if you're interested in those this year, and she's added some prompts. There's 4 prompts and you can use 1, 2, 3, or 4, whichever ones you want. And the prompts for this month were circles, add fabric, beginnings, and drips. And of course, you know, I'm going to add them all because that's how I am. 4 prompts, I could do 25 prompts and still be fine. So I started out with a piece of recycled backing for some charms. And I adjusted it because it had a torn area in the middle, and I felt that it would be a good idea to seal up that, torn up cardboard in the middle before I started doing anything to it. The reason I wanted to use this is because I liked the grommet at the top that was on there, and I thought that it was really cute, and I just wanted to keep it, so I decided to use it to make a tag, an altered tag. So these packaging pieces are always great for keeping, to cut things out of. They're a nice chipboard, and then you don't have to go out and buy something. And a lot of these are tag shaped, so I thought that, the ones that I like I keep, and then I use them later. At some point it's going to go too crazy and I'm going to have too much stuff, so I'm going to have to get rid of some of them. But the grommet on this one was so cute, I just wanted to keep it. So one of the prompts was circles, and I decided to use this new stencil that I have that my friend Peg sent to me for Christmas, and I believe it's a Stencil Girl stencil that has these swirly cool circles on it. So I'm using some Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist in 3 different colors, navy, vintage pink or something like that, and something to do with light green. Then I have printed off a quote that I really like from Meister Eckhart, which I don't know who that is, but it's a cool quote about starting out and new beginnings and things like that, and I wanted to use that. It's a little bit wide and I was messing around with it. So another one of the prompts was drips, and I decided maybe I'd make some drips using this indigo golden fluid acrylic, and it wasn't dripping as fast as I wanted, and so I decided to use some water. Oh man, what a mess. But I leave these things in when I mess up because it's all recoverable. It's always recoverable. This was just too dark. This indigo took over everything, wiped out everything. And basically I had to start over again. So after I dried it, I brought back out the stencil, the circles stencil, and I used some white gesso and a sponge to go over the whole tag again with the gesso. This is kind of a thin gesso from Liquitex Basics. It's not a heavier one, so it doesn't completely obliterate everything. You'd have to put more than one coat to completely make everything turn back to white, and that's fine because in mixed media I don't want things obliterated. I like having the different layers showing up, even though it might appear as if I've covered everything. I really haven't. So then I got my colors back out while the gesso is still wet, and I went back over the stencil with the colors again, with the Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist colors. And I actually like that effect better than I liked the other effect that I had, because now I have these darker circles underneath that add more pattern. And then of course I added some new drips, and this time I used the same colors of Glimmer Mist by just holding them at the end and squirting and then letting it run down the tag. And my idea behind these drips was that I was thinking about, when I think about something new beginning, starting, I always think about flowers growing, which is kind of a spring thing, but that's just what I think of when you're starting over. You're reblooming, you're starting over, you have a new stem and new leaves coming up from the cold dark ground. That's just how I think of it. So I was thinking those would be stems as I was dripping them. They didn't actually end up being stems, but that was my idea. So then another one of the prompts was to add fabric. So I got out a scrap of this canvas from Canvas Corp Brands. They have raw canvas that you can buy. They have burlap. They have stretched canvas that's untreated, which is different to use if you want to try out an untreated canvas, a canvas like you hang up on the wall. They've got all kinds of stuff made out of canvas, like zipper bags and aprons and, just all kinds of things. So you might want to check them out there. They're a fun company. I'm still on their design team for the 3rd year this year. Not sure what I'm going to be doing, but I'll be doing something, including going to the Craft and Hobby Association big trade show at next weekend, and working for them at their booth, and then also checking out all the new products that there is coming out this year. So I tore my canvas into little strips, and I was going to put them horizontally, and then I decided that I didn't like that, so I decided to kind of put them in an abstract stripe, going vertically, keeping everything vertical. Then I decided to go ahead and glue on my quote. I probably should have left that to last, but I didn't know what I was going to be doing, so I decided to glue it on because it was there on my table, and so I did. I'm using tacky glue to glue all this down. It's a good heavyweight craft glue to help things really stick. And then I think maybe I'll put a little bit more glimmer mist on the canvas. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't really like that. So I set that aside, and I decide maybe I will use this die that I got for Christmas it's a Tim Holtz die that has all these little sprigs of flowers and things. And since that was kind of my idea to begin with, I decided to just go with that. So I got a piece of off-white smooth cardstock, and I stamped some French writing on it with archival ink, brown archival ink, and then I sprayed it with the same colors of Glimmer Mist and also did some splattering over it, trying to make a piece of paper that I was going to cut out the little sprigs from. And I was still thinking maybe I would use this leftover strings from where I was tearing, and I just wasn't sure. This is the process where you're just playing. You're just messing around. You're not stressing about it. You're just trying this and that to see what will happen, what you'll end up with. I decided to try to use some white gesso to cover up the green that I'd put on the canvas, and then I got out my die cut machine and those little Thinlits dies and a couple different scraps of cardstock that I had in my pile that were similar colors to the colors I had used from the sprays. These are both from Stampin' Up. I don't remember what colors they are actually. I think that one might be not quite navy maybe. And then the other one is, I'm going to say maybe it's garden green. But they were colors that were similar to the ones I had used in the project already, and they were just scraps from my scrap pile. So I cut out the little sprigs from both of those colors, and then also cut out a whole bunch of them from that piece of off-white cardstock that I had sprayed and stamped to use. And of course, I cut out most of this because there's a lot of fussing, there's a lot of poking from the back to get all the little pieces out, to get them out of the dies, to get all the little other cutout pieces that you don't want out of the, there's just a lot of fussing. So I had a whole big stack of these flower sprig things and decided to see what they would look like on my tag. I decided that the dark ones needed to go over the light colored area, obviously. Excuse me, big yawn. And then the lighter colored ones that were sprayed needed to go over the darker areas to kind of balance everything. So I'm just sticking them in there and putting them on, putting them off, taking them out, trying to figure out what I'm going to get. Decide to start laying them down. So I'm using some Tombow multi-glue, something about multi-glue. And the reason that I use it is because it has a fine mono-multi, that's what it's called, that it has a fine tip. So it's easier to get the glue on the back of these skinny little things because I want to have enough glue on there that it does stay stuck to the tag, but I don't want so much glue that it's like oozing everywhere and getting, you know, a big gloppy sticky mess. So this glue works well for this type of tiny little work. And it would have been easier if that saying at the bottom hadn't been there, because I'm like cutting pieces out so that I can kind of make it look like they're continuing. It was a big pain in the tail. I wished I hadn't put that on there first. But you live and you learn and you work around it. So I continue to put these on, trying to make myself happy with how it looks, you know, just messing around. This video would have been better had I not had this zoomed in so far. You know, it was a small project, so I wanted to zoom in the camera, but I zoomed it in too far, I think. So I need to keep it one click out from this so that you can see the whole tag. So then I decided I would add in some of those strings that were left over from tearing the canvas that I was trying to use, and I just laid them over my composition, put some glue in a couple different places to stick it down, and then I'm adding some more sprigs over the top to help everything stick. So that was what I ended up doing, and it worked out great. I like the dimension of having the fabric and then having the strings and having multiple layers of the little cutout pieces. It makes it textural and dimensional. So that pink color that I sprayed on didn't really ever show up in anything. I think it's pink, but it's just too neutral. It's almost like I don't know. It doesn't show in the composition at all. So I didn't try to highlight it or, you know, bring in another pink element to try to bring it out. I just decided to stick with the blue and the green for the whole thing. So that color is pretty weak. I mean, you saw me spray it. You saw me spray it more than once. So I don't know. It's a weak color. Something weird about it. So then, of course, I needed to add another color, so I decided gold was a good choice. And I got some gold cardstock and a gold pen, and I drew around the quote with the gold pen. I put some gold splatters on over everything, and then I'm using this piece of gold cardstock as a backer. You know, on the back of this is a whole bunch of writing because it's still that recycled card thing from that was holding the charms. So I need to cover that up in the back, and I like having an extra border around my tags. I used a corner rounder to trim everything up and a hole punch to make a hole. Then I glued that whole thing on there, and then of course I added matching ribbons and cord, and that was pretty much the finishing of my tag. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to join in the challenge, just go over to Facebook and ask to join the Tag It Tuesday group, and you can post your projects in there. Please remember to give this a thumbs up and leave me a comment so I know you were here. If you haven't subscribed, you can do that. And also, if you're going to subscribe, remember to turn on the little notification bell that's next to the subscribe button. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.